Some former employees from Xbox are not happy with the direction Xbox is going, particularly in the hardware space. Looks like we're going to be seeing what the future of Halo is all about this year at the upcoming Halo Championships. We also may see more about the Elder Scrolls 6. EA is bringing back college basketball, which is pretty cool. And Nintendo is raising prices for their last generation Nintendo Switch, which is a very odd thing to do. But before we do get into it, if you do enjoy daily gaming news and content, make sure to hit the subscribe, share it, like it. All of that stuff helps the channel grow, helps grow the community. So I do appreciate it. But for now, let's jump into it. So there's been a lot of talk about the future of the Xbox hardware. It's something that people continuously are going over. Last week's announcement with Sarah Bond partnering with AMD, Xbox partnering with AMD to bring a portfolio of Xbox devices to our living room, to our hands, and other places that Xbox you're going to be able to play. It didn't solve all of the questions that people have. One of the questions that now this has shifted to is Xbox going to be making their own hardware, or is it all going to be like what we are seeing here with the handheld, with the ROG Xbox Ally, which is getting other manufacturers to create Xbox devices? One of the bigger names at Xbox back in the day was Laura Fryer. She was there with the original team and she worked on a bunch of big projects at Xbox, has now chimed in a recent video and thinks that the Xbox hardware is dead, which of course has brought a lot of discussions to the gaming community and to social media as to, is she right? Is she wrong? And if you agree with her opinion. So she put out a video, and here is some of the big things she said that people are going over. First of all, she calls Xbox Anywhere message just marketing and style with no substance, and believes that the ROG Xbox Ally is essentially one of Asus's portable PCs rebranded, offering little attraction to consumers. I will say, Xbox Anywhere, from my experience, has been phenomenal from the games that do utilize this feature, and you're seeing Xbox definitely get more games to take advantage of it. So I wouldn't say it's all just marketing. I would say there's a lot there. It just needs to continue to grow. It's a phenomenal feature going from each device and being able to pick up right where you left off with the same save. She goes on here and says, obviously one of the founding members of the Xbox team, I'm not pleased with where things are today. I don't love watching all of the value that I helped create slowly get eroded away. I'm sad because from my perspective, it looks like Xbox has no desire or literally can't ship hardware anymore. So this ROG Ally partnership is about a slow exit from the hardware business completely. Continues here and says, personally, I think the Xbox hardware is dead. The plan appears to be just drive everybody to Game Pass, and let's be clear, it has a lot of value. I'm thinking that might be why they decided to charge $80 for Outer Worlds 2. And here's the thing, maybe it will work. Xbox has a deep portfolio. The remake of Oblivion was obviously a huge success, and they can continue to outsource that work to external companies and make a lot of money releasing their older games from an era when Xbox knew how to build them. But what is the long-term plan? Where are the new hits? What will make people care about the Xbox 25 years from now? I was excited to see Clockwork Revolution in the showcase, but will something like that be enough? And do they have more? And says here that next year marks the 25th anniversary of the Xbox, and I'm sure that they will have some big announcements and plans for honoring the milestone. Maybe next year is the year. Maybe next year is the year that the fog will clear and all of us will see the beauty in these latest announcements. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So there's a lot here that she does talk about. I mean, there really isn't anything new. Her opinions aren't groundbreaking, at least in my opinion, because we've talked about this. Many other people have talked about some of the things that she has said now for months and maybe even years in terms of the direction of Xbox, where they're going, pushing people to Game Pass, the catalog of games that they do have. And I disagree with the part talking about how Xbox, there's a fog, at least on the software and the game side of things. I mean, 2025 has been phenomenal. 2024 was also very good. And then if you look forward to next year with the 25th anniversary coming, that is also going to be a phenomenal year. I think in terms of Xbox's releases, not in Game Pass and other places, and then obviously the third-party stuff that is coming over, the fog has been completely wiped away. We can see that the ball is rolling now, and they are meeting what they were promising, which was at least a game every single quarter from their first parties in the service. And the output from the Xbox team from first parties, I think, has been very, very good. There's just been tons of content coming, and lots of these games have been great. So I don't really think there is a fog there. But when it comes to the hardware perspective, I can see people still coming up and thinking about questions as to what is this future going to look like. Like, are they making their own Xbox? Or is it all just going to be outsourced to third-party manufacturers? Is it going to be Asus and Razer and Lenovo and all these companies going out there and making Xbox branded devices, going through the approval process with Xbox in partnership, and then giving us something that has an Xbox user interface on it where you could play all of your Xbox games? Realistically, for me personally, I don't really care. As long as I get access to everything, as long as I get access to my console games and to Game Pass and to PC games and everything, to me, that is perfectly good here going forward for the next generation of Xbox. However, I do fully believe they are making their own next generation console. We even had an announcement just recently. Sarah Bond came out, put a video in partnership with AMD that they are working together to co-engineer the silicon on the upcoming portfolio of Xbox devices. And she specifically says in that video, for a console, for a handheld, and other places where Xbox is going to be. To me, that does sound like they are making their own hardware, because if you look at the current Xbox, they did the same thing. They worked with AMD to make the SoC, and that's what they're doing again going forward. And she does say that it's going to be for an at-home console as well. So it, to me, sounds like they're making a console. I think for some people, it's still in question. And in my opinion, Laura Fryer just sounds like she doesn't want anything to change. And if Xbox continued down the road that they were currently going down, I think it would have been far worse off for the Xbox gamer as of right now. If they would have continued to just with the same generation going forward and trying to compete with PlayStation and Nintendo in the same places where they've basically lost, that would have not been a smart decision. I think the moves that they are making is going to lead to Xbox being around for much longer, and they're bringing a ton of value to gamers. But when it comes to the actual hardware itself, there's actually an interesting discussion here. You have Destin and Jez Corden talking about this. You have Destin here saying, I've been saying for 10 months that Xbox will likely shift its strategy. Laura Fryer is right. This is probably the end of proprietary hardware. On that, we agree. Time will tell if that's a good thing or not. But for now, it seems like everyone wins. Jez responds here and says, they literally announced hardware last week. I feel like I'm going crazy reading these takes. And then Destin says, if it's the post I'm thinking of, they announced partnered hardware, not proprietary. I think the hardware is interesting, no matter how it will be made. What people seem to be discussing is if it'll be first party versus partner. And Jez says, bro, it's first party hardware from Microsoft, Xbox branded, not Asus, etc. Sarah literally said it in her tweet about the article. She wrote the blog post and made the video. There's no catch, no gotcha. It's first party hardware. You have Paris chiming in here saying, Jez, we both know people don't read or listen. Supposedly it's all lies to trick you. And then they just continue on here. And that is kind of where my confusion is as well with this debate. They did say this last week that they were making this hardware, but people are still going to question it because of the shifts in strategy. You're going to see continuously be questioned because they're putting games on PlayStation and they are now multi-platform and stuff. So with that in mind, until Xbox shows us their Xbox box that they've made for your living room, you're going to have questions like that. But everything they're telling us right now is they are making their own first party box, and this first party box is going to be open. You're going to get other launchers on there. They even mentioned that they're working with Windows, and that sounds like an extremely exciting future going forward for the Xbox ecosystem and for their Xbox console. So Laura Fryer's video, it's been blowing up, but I mean, she didn't say anything new in that video. There's no opinion there that people haven't been talking about for a while. And it's not really earth shattering at all. Another person here who's always outspoken when it comes to the strategy of Xbox is Mike Ybarra, who we know has been there. I believe he left Xbox twice or fired twice. I forget exactly what it was. He talks about Xbox as well. And he served various roles at Microsoft for 20 years. He culminated here with the role as corporate vice president on Xbox Live and Xbox Game Pass before becoming the Blizzard president for 3 years. and then took to X here to give his view, saying, tough to see Xbox confused about who it is and what it should be. Some great people are still there. They have to figure out what needs to change and fast. I'm a big fan and will always bleed green, cheering the team on from the sidelines. Pick your lane and stick to it. And then asked by a follower what he thinks Xbox should do, he says, it's simple to me. Xbox should strive to be the world's greatest publisher, world's largest publisher of entertainment content. Get rid of everything else and get focused. Do not be afraid to say what you are. Embrace the lane. And then replies here saying that and asked about how that aligned with Xbox's identity as a console manufacturer, replies, from what I see, they are no longer that. Straddling the fence is not a winning plan. And then continues on about other things that are happening at Xbox. So he thinks there are no more consoles coming from Xbox. Again, even though they literally just announced that they're doing this, they're making consoles next week. And then I think the plan itself, we know that Xbox is trying to become the biggest, the greatest, the largest publisher, all of that by putting their games everywhere. But at the same time, they're trying to create more avenues for people to get into the ecosystem, specifically, I think, because of Xbox Game Pass. So as a gamer, we're getting the best of both worlds right now going into the next gen. That's kind of what this sounds like to me. Everybody is winning with this strategy. If you're getting a console from a brand that you enjoy, which is Xbox, and you're getting access to the open ecosystem, I don't know. To me, as a gamer, I don't know why people are complaining so much about this, but they are, and they will continue to until we get to, I guess, officially seeing exactly what the plans are. One of those games I'm very much looking forward to is Halo Studios' next upcoming Halo game. What are they working on? We know something's coming for the anniversary in 2025, and it looks like a major reveal could be taking place later this year. In fact, this will be taking place at the Halo World Championships between October 24th and October 26th, they say here. Over the past few weeks, there's been a fair amount of speculation about when and where more details might emerge about any of the multiple projects Halo Studios is actively working on. We don't usually comment on such matters, but this time we want to enter the chat and share a little more perspective for Halo fans who might be on the fence about whether to attend this year's event. Speculation is always fun, but if you want the official scoop on what Halo Studios has been working on, you won't want to miss this year's Halo World Championship. So we are going to see something here for what's coming next in Halo, which will be a major part of the 25th anniversary in 2026. Phil Spencer has said that Gears and Forza are coming, and that another title that has been with Xbox since the beginning, which is Halo. So I'm thinking we're seeing that remake, the Halo CE remake that they've been working on here in Unreal Engine 5. And maybe they'll give us a glimpse into the next mainline Halo game or another project they're working on. Who knows? But I feel like the 2026 Halo game is going to be Halo CE. A game that I still think is many years out is Elder Scrolls 6. Well, apparently an Elder Scrolls 6 trailer is actually getting closer, even though it did not show up at the Xbox Game Showcase in 2025. This is a chat here on the Xbox 2 podcast, and Jez Corden talks about what he has heard and demonstrated internally at Xbox and Bethesda, and says there was a good reason why I thought maybe it was going to be there, and in terms of Elder Scrolls, I guess, being at the showcase. And it was because that I had heard there had been internal trailers and they'd been demonstrating it internally. So I'm kind of like, if they're demonstrating it internally and I'm hearing about it, chances are that maybe it's going further afield now. So we will see. Maybe a trailer is going to be coming up. Maybe this will be one of the biggest moments at next year's Xbox showcase. I think Elder Scrolls 6 is still a few years out. Like, definitely not before 2027 are we going to be able to see him and play this game. So who knows? But that's going to be one of the biggest releases from Xbox as a first party that they'll have generationally, because this Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be one of the most anticipated games out there. All right, let's talk college basketball. This game has not had a game in 16 years. I actually remember playing some of those March Madness games back on the Xbox 360. It looks like this game is coming back. It makes complete sense because of how big college football 25 blew up. And I'm sure college football 26 is going to be up. And there was, I believe, 11 years between the release before 25 and then last year's version. So this is an even bigger distance between releases. And I'm sure this game will also do very, very well. But they put out a tweet here and it says, "Bring the madness. Let's run it back. Hashtag CBB. Hashtag it is in the game." That means, yeah, this game is coming back. And EA Sports, they don't even make NBA games anymore. So they're going to try to get into basketball games now via college basketball, which is a smart move because 2K obviously owns the NBA games. And they've tried to come back with their NBA games, the NBA Live and stuff, but it just has not panned out for them. And we will see what this one is. If they have a newer engine, they fix some of the things that people hated with the NBA Live games when that game was really bad in the Xbox One gen. I believe NBA Live 19 was the last one because NBA Live was great back on like the PS2 and the Xbox and the GameCube, but then it just kind of got terrible and 2K took over. So we'll see if they can fix all that with college basketball. And finally, we'll talk a couple of things here when it comes to Nintendo. They're doing some weird pricing stuff here. It's not ever really a shock when it comes from Nintendo. They do this stuff. They are very strict on their products. And it seems like no matter what moves they make, people still go out and buy it. One of the things that they are doing here is they're actually raising the prices in Canada for some reason. But this isn't for the Switch 2. This is for the previous generation Switch. It's head scratching, but the company announced on Monday that based on market conditions, a number of its products will see a price change in the country. And the products include the Nintendo Switch OLED model, the Nintendo Switch Lite, the physical and digital Nintendo Switch games, and even Nintendo Switch accessories. And the Switch 2, they say, won't be impacted by the upcoming changes, and neither will the Switch 2 games or accessories. So we don't know what the exact pricing is going to be, but there will be price changes August 1st. Now, I guess they didn't officially say the prices are going to go up, but I mean, that's what you can assume. They just say that they will be making changes based on the market conditions. And I mean, that's a very odd thing because the Switch 2 is out, but they're raising. I've never seen this before in my life where they've raised the prices of a previous generation console that is already many, many years old now. I think it's going on 9 years old soon. So they're doing that with a next gen console out that they're also trying to sell. You're just probably going to get more people just not even caring about picking up the last generation Nintendo Switch and just looking at the Switch 2 because the prices may be closer together. But other than that, it's a very, very odd strategy. We've never seen unprecedented pricing in this gen in terms of games, in terms of consoles, not even just from Nintendo, but across the board, where we haven't seen any major price cuts from Xbox or from PlayStation. In fact, both companies have actually raised the prices of their consoles in various parts of the world and not just Canada. The other thing Nintendo is doing here is they are stopping Amazon US sales as third-party sellers are offering games at lower than the MSRP. And I always thought MSRP was the suggested retail price where you don't have to sell that, but that's what they do suggest. But Nintendo of America and Amazon.com, their relationships have been strained. And Bloomberg is explaining here with the recent issues between the two companies, seeing Amazon.com miss out on the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2. It turns out Nintendo of America were displeased that third-party sellers on Amazon were selling video games for lower prices than Nintendo had advertised. And they did this by buying the games in bulk from Southeast Asia and exporting them to the United States for cheaper than the recommended retail price. Amazon seemingly failed to stop this from happening, so Nintendo has decided that the best solution from their point of view was to stop selling their products on Amazon.com, and both companies have denied the Bloomberg report. It says here, Amazon tried to assuage Nintendo by offering to attach labels to products that guarantee that they're authentic, and Amazon uses the technique to assure shoppers products aren't counterfeits and to help it track merchandise, but the offer wasn't sufficient, and Nintendo ultimately opted to pull its products from Amazon in the US. So weird pricing stuff going on here with Nintendo, and we'll see if that price raise for the last gen, the Nintendo Switch 1, stops at Canada. Are they going to do that in other parts of the world? Will be very interesting to see. But on the video there, guys, if you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.